Welcome to the AC Expert Insight series. This is the very first of many to come. It's a series that we believe is absolutely appropriate, particularly to educate and to help the young generation coming into consultancy and engineering. It flowed from previous CEO conference, which we've been holding for the last 4 years in London for European CEO. The idea is on a regular basis, we will meet a lot of the senior experts in the industry, particularly the CEO, who have a lot of experience in dealing with managing consultancy and engineering business. The focus is not technical. The focus is about how to run business. It's how to run business, particularly in the area of merger and acquisition, growth, developing young talent, bring them up into the business and let them understand some of the issues that challenges management. It's ideal for the right age from 21 to 35, particularly the AC Progress Network, which is a small group of AC members relative to the whole of UK. The intention is to provide this on a series of monthly bulletin that members and non-members can share. Today we have the very first candidate, who is Graham Nicholson. He is a senior partner and managing director of Tony G and Partner. Graham has been active in the market for quite a long time, very active within ACE. And Graham, good to see you.
Oh, nice to be here, Nelson.
Thank you very much for being the first candidate on this sort of expert series. The agenda is very simple. It's a conversation idea, and it's really to tap into your knowledge, particularly in managing your business. You've been with Tony G and Partner for substantive period, if I can write.
A very long time, actually.
Okay.
My background, if you want to know a little bit about my background, I started working for a contractor, sponsored through university, and worked for them for about 4 years. And then really felt the need to want to improve design, because some of the design that I'd actually seen when I was working as a graduate, as a contractor, I felt I could do better. So I looked around for a consultancy that worked closely with design and worked closely with contractors. And I saw an advertisement for Tony G and Partners and applied, and that was 33 years ago.
Wow.
As a graduate, and I've effectively worked my way from that position all the way to executive managing director is my title now.
But you started with a very core expertise, which is really helping to make what design workable in construction, and you've now leveraged on the entree other side that comes through. But if you look at the organization now and look at the challenges facing the industry and understanding there are companies perhaps smaller than you and there are companies that are massively bigger, what do you say to be the challenges for the industry right now? What are the three big things you see for the industry?
I think the biggest thing facing the industry is going to be one of skill shortage. I think in the current market we've just been through one of the worst recessions of all times. My business, we were, I think, fortunate that we managed to come through that without having to downsize, but the industry as a whole had to go down maybe 10, 15, 20% in some organisations, depending upon the sector in which they were working. Now that we're coming out of, or have come out of recession,
which is encouraging.
It's encouraging, and I think the future and the need for infrastructure within the UK and indeed worldwide, because the whole industry should be looking wider afield. I mean, we work in a global industry. The difficulty that we are finding, and I think everybody else will be finding, will be a shortage of people with the right skills.
So what I get from that is an expansion of workload, which is positive for the industry. But more to go with that is the ability to deliver. That comes through having the right skill set and being able to get them available. Just touching back to where you started on saying that you started by supporting contractors, making sure that the design is buildable, if I can use that phrase. And now you can see how the market is expanding, and there's some close boundaries of where companies are working very close. And the definition of client is not always the traditional client where is the project promoter, and your client, some of your clients predominantly could be contractors. How do you see the boundary getting blurred in that area?
Yes,
Do you see that as a challenge or as an opportunity?
Well, I'm quite intrigued by the discussion and talk about collaboration that is going on in the industry. From my point of view, I think the industry, we have collaborated. Certainly my business has collaborated, and we've worked closely with clients, contractors, the supply chain throughout. And I think that's something that actually is an obvious thing to do. So, working collaboratively, I would like to think that the whole of the industry would have been doing that. I certainly know my business, that's something that we felt we've always done, and we don't see, when we read the requirements for collaboration now, we don't see it as being actually
it's
we
not
have
new.
to do anything
it's
different
not new because it's something you've always been doing.
So I think, but actually, in terms of the whole industry working together, I'm very positive and very encouraged by that, because I think, with there being so much work to be done, and with there being a skill shortage, there is huge opportunity for us as an industry here to actually deliver for, not just for our industry, but for the whole of the people who use the infrastructure that we're serving.
Well, I'm encouraged by that, because what you're saying to me is that in your business model, this is not new. But the fact that the market is getting bigger and there is a new ethos about collaboration, you are effectively ahead of the game. Do you see that as an opportunity for real growth in terms of your business, or in the traditional consulting? Is there an area of growth?
For a privately owned business such as ours, we have to be careful with growth, because to be able to fund growth, if we're going to do it organically ourselves, we really can only do that at around about 10% per annum. And that's something that not only have I experienced from actually seeing how our business operates, but it's interesting to reflect back on the benchmarking and the ACE and the conferences and the information that's come out from other sources that say the same thing, that you can only actually grow at 10% per annum. Last year, my business grew at 28%.
Which is very significant.
It was a very significant growth, and it is something that is not sustainable year on year on year. And yet, actually, the opportunities in front of us now, we could, if we wanted to, or if we could from a financial point of view, we could, I'm sure, from a work point of view, we could grow. From a financial point of view, it's challenging. But from an almost impossible point of view, it is to be able to obtain the skills and the people who we particularly want in our business.
The whole purpose of this engagement, this conversation, is really for the young one to be able to see how business leaders manage business, and whether the intention is for them to become managing director or just to be good at consultancy. If I just press on that skill side, the ACE plus the technician apprenticeship, they've actually set up TAC, which you chair. And the whole idea of that is that we can see the shift from not just recruiting graduates, but actually catching them young. You chair that TAC. What's your take on that? Do you think that will help the industry? Is this something that the industry should be involved with?
The Technician Apprenticeship Consortium is a fantastic initiative. I know you're right. I chair it, but I don't take any credit for setting it up.
That's okay.
But I give a lot of credit to the firms who did set it up. Partly driven by the requirement, I believe, of TfL, actually, who wanted to actually bring in the younger people into the industry, into the technician side rather than the engineering side. But the important thing about TAG is that it gives anybody the opportunity to go anywhere within our business. So as a starting point, it's a fantastic opportunity for people who perhaps decide not to go to university, but want to get into industry, start learning early.
From what age? That's from age of...
They can start from 16.
16, okay.
And they will, at the age of 16, they will come in, they will do a day release by going to college for a day, and they work for 4 days during the week in the business. And actually learning, on-the-job learning, is one of the best forms of education that you can have. The other thing about the Technician Apprenticeship Consortium and the relevance to the industry is that the industry has sort of neglected a bit the technician route over the years, in my opinion.
Well, you're absolutely right. I went through this whole process.
Yes.
I'm a living example of that.
Yes, and actually we've ended up now with some very experienced contract technicians, and there's a huge gap, and yet actually we are being challenged as an industry to take on BIM, and BIM is something that's been adopted actually by the industry wholeheartedly, I think.
Well, I think under the law in UK and in construction sector 2016 we have to have BIM compliance for all public sectors.
Indeed.
It is.
And to have the skills to be able to deliver BIM projects requires not only engineers, who actually I do see as having a different role to the role of the technicians, but the way that the whole technology and software has moved on, it requires somebody who can actually manipulate that software and use that software. As well as understanding what civil engineering is all about, and well, civil and building,
mechanical, and
all of that together, and that's what the TAC does. Is it allows people to become technicians to be able to help us deliver BIM.
Right. Now, Graham, we've covered quite a lot so far, but you're aware that we have a big challenge in UK, and like any other country with aging population, aging infrastructure. We now have National Infrastructure Plan, which the NIPSEF sits into that, where we have direct connection with the Treasury on infrastructure UK, and currently we also have the big challenge of flood. I just wonder, what's your take as an expert leader in the industry on the current state of our infrastructure, and what do you think we should be doing? As an industry and as government and as society, what's your take?
I think it's been a very challenging time with this flooding, and we have for years not invested in maintaining and developing our infrastructure. We've done an awful lot of sticking plaster solutions, and I think in a way that's probably why we've ended up with some of the difficulties that we've got at the moment. Having said that, of course, as engineers, we design things on the basis of return periods, and therefore there will always be events that will not exceed what we have designed our infrastructure for. However, having said that, of course, I think that there are some of the incidents that have happened at the moment to do with the railways and the flooding has come about as a result of probably not investing.
So do you think the National Infrastructure Plan that's just been put together, I think they've got the fourth version, do you think it's adequately cover our medium to long term strategy in terms of addressing the capacity issue in our infrastructure?
I think it's gone a long way from where it was, but it's got a long way to go.
Okay.
So
it's progressive, but it's not there yet.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of work. I mean, I know that the NIPSEF and actually engagement with the government and actually getting them to understand the importance of infrastructure. I think that message has now got out.
Okay.
I think the difficulty is trying to actually then get those projects actually delivered.
Sit in pipeline and actually in active mode.
Yes, and I think it's going to take a lot of effort on our behalf to keep getting that message across and working away at it. And it's a slightly negative way of looking at what's happened and saying, well, there you go. There's an example of what happens if you don't develop in infrastructure. You end up with the Dawlish situation where, probably if we looked at that and thought about the impact of this, this recent weather, that sort of thing would have been predictable.
I mean, if you look at it in the sense of, for example, the London Underground is 150 years old. It still works, and we're retrofitting now while it's live operational. We have an aging power station, and we need to fix that up, and government is thinking about doing that. Obviously, that's an opportunity for the industry. And the big question is always, how do we make sure the agenda of infrastructure go beyond one political period, so that we need to get the message across on a consistent basis? And do you think engineers and our business have a role in there, or should we leave it to third parties?
Well,
to
no, I
address
think
this
we,
issue?
I think we have to be there
Yeah.
at the forefront, explaining what it is that we can do and what benefits we can bring.
Okay.
But I think it does actually take some real vision to be able to see what the real benefits
Okay.
for the next generation will be. I mean, an example I would suggest is the M25, which at the time that it was built, was the objections were enormous, and yet actually the benefit that road has brought has been absolutely enormous.
And can you
And I
imagine
think-
if you take M25 out? Can we survive?
Exactly, and I think exactly the same. I think you'll find exactly the same thing with HS2.
Okay.
And that's my take on HS2. I think at the moment it's kind of hard to see what the real benefits are.
Because we
down
haven't
the
been good
line.
at selling the benefits in a proper way.
I think the engineers can sell them. I think what I think we can sell them. I think we know ourselves. We know what the benefits are. But I think sometimes the people who we're talking to don't get it. They
So
don't
we
get
we
it.
do have a job to do,
We do.
which is to continue to get the message across that it is required. We are building for the next generation, because our great grandfather built the current infrastructure, and is still serving us, such as Batsujet and all of that is going through. Is very much, we shouldn't leave the campaign or the conversation to others. We should engage. Graham, it's been fantastic speaking to you. You're the first of our expert insight series, and I'm really grateful that you've given us the time to dive into your background, into what makes Tony G and partner, especially on what you do, your strategy, the issues about insights, looking at how we can attract young people into our sector and keep them in a way that is sustainable, what TAG does, which is very impressive, and also the issues about actually, getting young people to get excited about the industry. You don't have to be the CEO. There's room for everybody. On that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for giving us that opportunity. There will be other people that we need to have a conversation with, and hopefully this will be first of many to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. Thank
you.
Good.
So as a final thought on TAC, the industry needs young people to come and help deliver the huge amount of infrastructure that is in front of us. And TAC is a great opportunity for anybody to get involved.